Prior to joining CSI, Stan held management roles at Xerox, Unisys Corporations. In addition, he is a past director and president of the Association for Financial Technology, a national trade association. He holds a BS in business from Southern Illinois University. You're in for a treat today. I hope that when you leave this presentation, you have a real understanding of the enormity of this organization and the clients that it serves across the United States and across the world. So I'm going to welcome to the stage my friend, Stan Eckenberg.
I'm not very good at standing behind podiums, so I'm going to pick this thing up. Thank you very much, Tammy. Tammy and I do go back a long way. She was 12 and I was 28. So, let me understand who exactly I'm talking to. I thought this was going to be tough following Ryan. Then they do door prizes, so this is really tough having to follow all that. So, how many of you here are juniors? Raise your hand. All right, good representation. Seniors, raise your. Oh, a lot of seniors. Great. So you guys are on the cusp of trying to figure out what's next, right? So hopefully we can talk a little bit about that today. How many of you know who CSI is, or Computer Services Inc.? That's better than your parents. Thank you very much. How many have ever been to CSI? In the building? How many of you had your prom picture taken there? Yeah, I figured it'd be more than that, really. Yeah, we're located, in case I say prom picture taken there, it wasn't at CSI. You were at the fountain around or in the middle of the park across from the Marriott courtyard. That's us. And we're the prom picture capital of Paducah. So want to talk a little bit today about who we are. And as Tammy says, our purpose here is to give you a little insight, not only into CSI, but insight into the technology world and the job opportunities that are available there. That's what we want to spend quite a bit of time talking about today. The company employs about 1,100 people. A lot of people don't know that. We've been in Paducah since 1965, started with 6 employees. Today we're 1,100 employees, of which about 300, a little less than that actually, are in the Paducah office. Revenues are approaching $250 million. Revenues, everybody understands what that is. The money people pay us to do our work. Those revenues are approaching $250 million. Probably will hit $250 million this year. And there's 3 things about the company that makes it a really good employer. And all of them have to do with growth. There's an old axiom in the business world, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so you have to be growing all the time. CSI's had the luxury, or I should say the good fortune, to have grown in 3 key areas for a number of years. First one's revenue. I talked about it a minute ago. What people pay us to do the work that we do. And we've had 16 years of revenue growth without exception, consistent revenue growth. That's important when you're looking at employers, because if you're working for somebody that's shrinking or their revenue's not growing, they're not going to be able to offer you as an employee all the things they'd like to. Even if they wanted to give you a bigger raise and they wanted to give you better benefits and they wanted to maybe give you some additional things in the compensation package, they don't have that option because the revenue's not growing. The company's on its way down, most likely. Now, the other thing you have to do besides just grow revenue is you also have to grow earnings. I mean, earnings is really the money we spend after the revenue. We take our revenue, we reduce all of our expenses, we pay our employees, we pay for our buildings, we buy cars, we do all those things, and then we get to the bottom line and we get to pay the government 40 cents, actually 39 cents of every dollar that we have earned at that point. So we send taxes to the government, and then that leaves us earnings. If earnings aren't growing, it's not a great company to work for because, again, they can't do all the things they want to do for you. And then the last thing we do is for 44, and we've had 19 years of consecutive earnings growth. The last thing is pretty amazing. For 44 years, CSI in Paducah, Kentucky has had dividends growth. Now, what is dividends? Well, you take a company like ours and you break it up into little pieces of ownership. And that's a share of the company. And so it's a share or stock share of the company. We have lots of shareholders, about 4,000 shareholders out there. And dividends is what you pay back on an annual basis to those people who own the company. For 44 years, we have grown dividends for the owners of the company. That makes them very happy owners. Very happy owners is a great place to work because there's not as much stress, there's not as much pressure, and they're very happy with the return that we're giving them. To give you an idea of how unique that is, in America, across the country, only 2% of the companies in America have grown dividends for 20 years consecutively. Only 2% of the companies, 98% of them couldn't do it. We've done it for 44 years. I tell you all that because I think we're a great employer, and the state, or I should say the business community agrees, because since 2013, we've been a recipient of the best places to work in Kentucky. And that's not just an award they give you for showing up. I mean, they surveyed, there's thousands of applications, and we've ended up in the top 20 since 2013, the first year we applied, and we're right in the middle of that again, trying to win it again in 2018. So we're a great place to work. Located in Paducah, Kentucky. You've seen this, a few of you raised your hand, a few of you have been in this building. But we also have locations all over the country. We have offices in about 20 different cities. Farthest western location is in Fort Collins, Colorado. The farthest eastern location is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So the 300 employees that work here, the other 800 employees are spread amongst those 20 offices. So what do? We're a data processor for banks. Most people think that every bank has a computer in their basement somewhere that's how they do all their processing. Truth is that about 60% of the banks in America hire somebody like CSI to do their data processing. They don't have their own computers. So for example, when you go to Starbucks and you use your iPhone to pay for your coffee, we're the guys that do that. We have the software and the mechanisms to do that. When you deposit a check by taking a picture, which you can do now, send it to your bank and have a deposit, we're the guys that apply the software and the systems to do that and do that for our customers. When you get an alert from the bank that says your account just got low, anybody get one of those? Some people raise their hand. We're the guys that send you that alert. It's not your bank, it's us. We're doing that for them on their behalf. When you buy music on the online, that's us. When you get your first car loan, if you get a car loan, we'll be the folks not that make you the loan, but we keep a track of all your payments. We keep track of what the balance is. We send you notices. We do that for the banks we serve. When you go to the ATM, you stick your card in, you ask for cash, and I know people don't do that much anymore, but some people do, like old guys like me. We're the guys who approve and say, yes, that's the right, that person can get that money out. First, we approve them and say, yes, that's the right person. They got the right card and the right PIN number. Then we tell the ATM to dispense the cash. And then we run a worldwide network. It's up 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We've got over 200 people involved in just that one function. There he is. We look for this guy all the time, and we're out there constantly trying to protect the information for the customers we serve. Our budget for cybersecurity is $6 million a year, just for cybersecurity, because it's a big, big, big issue. And when they break into our systems, which they haven't, so knock on wood, hopefully that won't happen, but it hurts the people of the banks we serve, the communities that we serve. And so we work very hard. And there's, like I said, there's 200 people involved in running our networks. A lot of them, and a lot of the money we spend is built around securing that network. We're looking for criminals and terrorists, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but one of the applications we run is there are lists put out by the government that says, this person's a bad person, don't do business with them. This person's a bad person, don't do business with them. This person is a terrorist, don't do business. This person is a drug lord, don't do business with them. And the banks and a lot of other companies are required by federal law to check against the list. Every time that they either put out a new list or every time they do a transaction, they have to check against a list to see if that person's on there. Well, we're the company that does a lot of that and does a lot of that worldwide. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's a big or an important piece of our business. And about 1 million other things. I mean, we do everything for the banks in the back room. And so we are, and the web apps that you get, and the internet banking, and the bill payment, All of that is CSI in the background. And so a lot of people have not heard of us over the last 52 years we've been in business. Some of the customers we have locally that you would know would be Paducah Bank, Banterra Bank, First National Bank of Mayfield. But we have banks all over the country, all over the United States. We don't do, for the banks, we don't do processing outside the country. There are some companies we do that for. We've got 2,800 customers worldwide because there's about 400 banks that we do processing. We do processing for a very unique group of people. Some of them you've probably heard of. If you do a transaction on Google and you buy something off the Google site, there's servers in Paducah, Kentucky, that transaction comes to Paducah and says, is this person okay to sell something to? We do 250 billion transactions a year for some of these customers that you see up here. I'm talking about Google. I'm talking about Facebook. I'm talking about Uber. I'm talking about eBay. I'm talking about Airbnb we just signed. And the list just goes on and on and on and on. If those folks are looking and they're having to do the criminal search that I talked about a moment ago or the terrorist watch that I talked about a moment ago, and a transaction takes place, it hits a server in Paducah, Kentucky. And most people don't know that. We've been in business, as I said, over 50 years now. And we invest back into the business because we're a growing company. We invest back into the company over the last 5 years, about $100 million or $20 million a year that we reinvest back into the company. It's an important piece of business. It's an important organization, and it's a big player in the financial industry. But we need help. We're a great company, one of the best to work in Kentucky. For that matter, we're one of the best to work for in the country. The problem I'm going to tell you about right now is not a CSI problem. The problem I'm going to tell you about right now is an industry problem. We're graduating about 10% of the data processing experts, data processing degreed people that we need to fulfill the job growth in our industry. A little less than 10%. And that number is not slowing down. That number just keeps going faster and faster and faster. So I tell you all that because there's some great opportunities out there to grow. This will be hard to see from the back, so I'm going to talk a little bit about it. But as good a company as we are, we have a difficult time filling in the slots, and there's a constant need. What this says is new hires. This is not replacing people that are retiring or people that quit. This is just new job growth for CSI on a year-over-year basis. 2013, 14, 15, and 16. If you can't see these numbers down at the bottom, over the last 4-year period, it's over 200 jobs that we've grown at CSI, new jobs, that it's very difficult for us to find employees. What kind of jobs are they? Well, they're software engineers. They're technicians for the telecommunications. We call it managed services. We TSM graduates. Mike Ramage still here? There's Mike. We hire a lot of people out of Mike's group because he does a tremendous job. It's a growing piece of our business and a growing problem industry-wide. What kind of jobs are they from a compensation standpoint? I don't mind putting these numbers out there. You can go find them on Google. You know, the average computer programmer, after they've been there for a while, the average, it starts at 44, but the average is $76,000 a year. Telecommunications specialists, the people that are running that worldwide network and helping keep that thing up going 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, almost $75,000 a year. If you're a cybersecurity specialist, this is where the bigger bucks come because we're trying to keep him, on the straight and narrow. We don't want to see him go back and have to work for the FBI. Cybersecurity specialist, this is inside CSI. Those jobs pay $50,000 to $135,000 with about an $86,000 average. So we got 200 of these sort of jobs that we've had trouble filling. And you can imagine just how frustrating that can be at times. So what are we trying to do? We're working with the local school systems. And in this case, it's mostly McCracken County, only because we're trying to start in McCracken County, get traction, and then be able to replicate that throughout the rest of the region. But we're working with the local school systems to say, how do we get your students in our front door. And how can we link into that talent? Because we like to hire, and I'll tell you this as well, as a company, let me say this differently. As an industry, the turnover rate, people that are leaving their current job, runs 25% in our industry because of all the demand and people go out. As a company, our turnover rate is less than 8% because people like working here. I think one of the earlier speakers said, look at tenure in a company. That'll tell you if it's a good company to work for or not. Our tenure is phenomenal. I have a young lady sitting up here, Becky Ariskovich, who some of you have met. She's been at the company 20 years already, and she's a very, very young person. So people stay with us once they get there. So we're trying to build a program, and we'd like to hire from Western Kentucky. I mean, that's where we have our best tenure. If it's 8% company-wide with an office in Austin, an office in Fort Collins, Paducah is where, or the Western Kentucky area is where we don't have any turnover. And so it's a wonderful workforce and a wonderful group of people to work with. And so what we're trying to do right now, and what we've presented to the schools, is we'd like to help define a 2-year program. Found out when we've been talking about this for 3 years, found out when we were trying to do that, we didn't have to define a 2-year program. West Kentucky Community and Technical College has a great 2-year program. And so all we have to do is figure out a way to tap into that. If we can find people that are interested in coming to work for us while they're in school, we're going to give them internships. And these aren't internships that ask you to come to work for us for free. These are paid internships, paying, I think it's $13 to $15 an hour for these internships. We're trying to link into the schools. This presentation today is an example of that. You guys are in the K through 12 system. We're trying our darndest to link into the K through 12 system and say, how do we get more people to come talk to us at CSI? And the fact that a few of you raised your hand saying, not only do I know who CSI is, I've actually been to the building, is totally different than 5 years ago. So maybe we're making a little progress after all this work. But we're trying to tap into that system. And then what we're willing to say is if a person gets involved with us and they get to, they go through the programs here at the college that suit our needs, and they've had satisfactory performance there, and they do internships with us, and they've had satisfactory performance there, we're going to guarantee them entrance into what we're calling the CSI Academy. CSI Academy doesn't exist today. Don't go look for them in the football scores. It doesn't exist today. It's something we call our desired state. It's something we want to do. But we have to have people in order to create the CSI Academy. So what the Academy is you come in, it's after you've had 2 years of training at a community college, and West Kentucky Community Technical College is, our favorite one here in the area. You come in, and we put you in a 1-year program, because when you get out of college, you've got general skills. We need specific skills. We need to teach you how we do business. The fact you know how to maybe do a little programming is good. The fact that you know how to do critical thinking is great. But what we are going to do is we're going to teach you how to do it the CSI way in the CSI Academy. So we put you in there for about a year. And then we're going to give you, and this is key, because when you enter the CSI Academy, you're going to be a whopping 20 years old maybe. And so what we're going to do is give you close supervision, not did you show up on time, but can I help you? What do you need? And mentoring. Mentoring meaning, what have you run into you didn't think you were going to have? How's personal things going on? And try to keep you or be able to work you into the company and be successful. It's not a state-funded project. It's not something you're going to have to worry about budget cuts. This is something CSI is going to do, pay for it, build it. And then Academy participants who do well in the program will be guaranteed a full-time job. Full-time job with those salaries I showed you a moment ago, good benefits, profit sharing. Maybe a term not a lot of you are familiar with, but at CSI we have a profit sharing program that it's not a 401k match because it's not a match at all. We give you a percentage of our profit based on our performance as a company. The minimum is 7%, and it can go as high as 15. Actually, I think it can, 15 is the cap, I think. And so it's a great way to build for the long-term future. So as I said, we're a great, great company to work for. And we've got this program that we're trying to work with the college, work with the local school systems, get people headed down this track. And we're going to be standing on the other end trying to help you be successful in your careers and make good money. Do I have any? Is that my last slide? Ah, yeah, that's it. I already said that. So, questions, and I've got a few more things I want to say, Doctor. Yeah, there we go.
Your program is intriguing. The thing that fears me, and I assume other teenagers as well, is the fear of a cubicle. Now, do you, what types of jobs that do you offer that are active and unique or creative at CSI? That
That's a
aren't
great
just-
question. I mean, again, we've got jobs all over. They're not all cubicle based, but yes, cubicles are an efficient way for you to have space to work. We don't have any long dining room tables that everybody sits at and chats back and forth. Frankly, I don't know if you've been reading lately, but that's starting to become something that's not as in vogue as it once was, because people are like, these people are starting to annoy me, and I'm sitting next to them every day. I mean, we have jobs that range from technicians that are doing programming. There's a lot of cubicle-based stuff there. We have people that are out working with the customers. So if you want, I mean, if you're a technically oriented person that wants to go out and do network work inside of the customer's location, so you're traveling around, we got those kind of jobs. We've got jobs where people are sitting in a large room with a big glass wall that overlooks the mountains in Fort Collins, Colorado, answering questions for people that are having telecommunications issues. So we got a variety of jobs out there, but I have to admit, there's a few cubicles at CSI. There's no question about that.
Thank you.
You bet. Good question. I've got a guy and a chief operating officer that works with me, and he's jonesing to blow up the building and put in all these soft seating and that kind of stuff. Well, we'll see.
Earlier you were talking about the internship programs. Could
Yeah.
you probably talk a bit more about those, like what specific things that interns can do and like the requirements to be part of that program?
You know what? I'm going to have a special guest in a minute. I'm going to let her talk to you, but I'll give you the generals about it. We do 15 or 20 internships a year, and it ranges all over the board. I mean, it's folks that are working down in telecommunications and learning security. It's people that are working down in what we call infrastructure, and they're taking care of PCs for people. We've got people that are coders that are writing codes, and it's not what the feedback we get every time from students is that I've been in school and I've been learning how to write code, and I've written these 12 lines of code that's printed something on a piece of paper. I came here and I wrote a website to train people on how to do things. And that's, yeah, you do. So it's real life, hands-on. We don't have you doing grunt work. We have you doing stuff that really gives you a flavor for what goes on in our industry.
Any other questions?
Okay, so my uncle owns CSI in Lexington, or some of the shares of it, and they're construction based. So are all the offices different from one another?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
My uncle owns the shares or whatever for
The stock shares,
yeah, for the CSI in Lexington, and they're construction based. Are all 20 of the offices different, or is it just variations between the computer and the construction?
All the different offices are different.
Okay.
But now, we're all in the data processing business, so I'm not sure. He probably owns some shares of our stock, but we're not in the construction business, if that's what you were asking me.
Like, they make sure construction sites follow procedures and everything.
The bad thing about CSI is they all think we're the crime scene investigators. It's a common name. So there could be a different company that he's got some shares in.
Okay.
But if he's got shares in CSI, he's a very happy camper. In 1965, if you had put $50, no, not $500 in a single share of CSI, today you heard him groaning up here. Today that single share would be worth $292,000. It's not a bad. Okay, I got their attention. What did he say?
It's not too late to invest, right? Other questions? Any other questions?
Okay. Then what I want to do, I'm not going to close my presentation yet. You're not going to get off that easy. Lean back in your chair. DQ blizzards are going to be another 20 minutes away still. What we do in the data processing business is we never do anything without testing it before we put that out. So, and that's typically referred to either as an alpha or a beta test. And so we beta tested this program. I gave this presentation 3 years ago to a number of educators in the area. And one of them was Dr. John Voss, who's in the back of the room. And when we got done, John came over to me and he said, "Have I got a person for you?" I said, "Okay." And so today's special guest is Miss Caitlin Rudolph. She will tell you her story from when she was sitting in your chair just not too many years ago. So Caitlin Rudolph, folks.
I am not a walker, so I'm going to put this on the podium here. Possibly. Maybe. So, technical skills, not so much with microphones. So yeah, as Stan said, I came from WKCTC. I came to tell a little bit about my time with WKCTC and then how I got really, really blessed to now be an employee with CSI. I was born and raised here in Paducah. I actually missed McCracken County by a year. I graduated last class at Lone Oak High School in 2013. I'm actually the first in my family to have a college degree. And on the topic of McCracken County, I have a half brother that goes there. I don't know if I should embarrass him and call his name out, but if anybody knows Preston Peak, that is my half brother. So anybody can pull him into tech. We need him. He needs to be here. So he's a junior, I do believe. Alrighty, thank you. Yes. So my story starts off really similar to Ryan's here. My grandparents had a Windows desktop. It was running Windows 98 at the time. I was born in 94, so I was almost as old as the computer, at this point. So we didn't have internet at the time, so I spent a lot of time just tinkering around with the computer. I never ripped it open as a little kid and dug into it quite as much as him, but I definitely played around on it. I got so familiar with the computer that I was definitely not a little kid that played outside. I didn't go ride my bike. I spent all the time on the computer to where my grandparents, if they had a question, they were going to the 8-year-old girl that knew more than they did. I played a few PC games. Didn't really get into console gaming. I am not a gamer at all. But in high school, when we got internet, that changed the game. And I had MySpace. And my favorite thing, we would have all the girls over, slumber parties, and we spent hours upon hours digging into our MySpace layouts, not knowing that we were coding in HTML. We absolutely loved it. I don't know how many people asked us to teach them what we knew just from playing around with it. And then I had Miss Carla here as a web design teacher. So MySpace helped me in her class, and then her class helps me to the day at work. Every single day, I'm building websites and using HTML. So CSI came onto my radar through family and friends. They're a huge employer in the area, Stan said, and they do a ton of good for the community. They really, really do. And there was so many positions there, as Stan said, for somebody in tech. I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I was going to go into tech. So CSI was on my radar very, very early. In high school, I co-opted. I don't know if they have that at a lot of your high schools, but I wanted to go to work. So I went to school in the mornings. I would go to work in the afternoon. And part of that program, we had to have a career finance related life skills class. So we were learning to do our taxes. We were learning to look for colleges, build resumes, and etc. So we had to really research the careers that we wanted to do, potential employers, where we wanted to live, where we wanted to go to college. I wanted to stay close to home, and I didn't want to move on campus anywhere. I wanted to go to WKCTC, and I wanted to work for CSI. So I spent pretty much my entire senior year learning what options were in the area for me, and I was able to get really good feedback on benefits and employers in the area. I knew CSI was going to provide me with excellent benefits and job security. It was it was everything that I wanted. So I definitely had my sights on CSI. I graduated from high school in 2013, like I said, and I started here at WKCTC. There's a handful of software tech-related tracks here. I actually didn't know what I wanted to do straight out of high school, so I just jumped into the program in general. And it was close to home, and I got to take classes on campus and online. I really love online learning. I think every school should offer it, so that was wonderful for me. So I did lean a little bit more towards the networking track here, but Miss Deanne taught computational thinking, CIT 120. It was the most challenging class I ever had as a college student at WKCTC, but it was the most fun. That was the first formal situation where I was really learning about programming languages, and it just clicked. And I was a total nerd about her class. It was extremely, extremely fun. I loved all my teachers here. I really owe a lot to them, and I really owe it to Dr. Voss, who asked me for my resume pretty much out of the blue to me. And then a few days, weeks later, I get a call from CSI wanting to interview me for an internship. So I was a little off guard there, but extremely, extremely grateful already that I just had the opportunity to be on their radar after they had been on my radar for so many years. So I went in and had my interview, and that went extremely well. And they hired me in as a software engineering intern in their software engineering group. So I was interning part-time, and I was still going to school full-time here at WKCTC. And I was so pleased with the amount of flexibility that I have. Your school schedule changes semester to semester when you get into college, and CSI was totally adaptable to my schedule. So I was able to, work on these days and go to school on opposite days. It was no big deal for CSI. They wanted me to get my education, and they wanted to do what was best for me. I had weekends off, which was excellent. Most of my friends were working fast food jobs and retail jobs, and I got to have weekends off. I had plenty of time for homework, plenty of time to study, so I was doing just fine in school. About that same time, WKCTC actually awarded me with the Computer Information Technology Outstanding Student Award, which I was extremely grateful to get. And I was able to take what I learned at school and put it to use at work. And that I don't really think there's anything more rewarding than putting your education to use. As part of the internship, CSI took the time to pair me up with a mentor. My mentor was from another department, so I was able to really learn about CSI as a whole. And we would get together pretty regularly, and she still checks in on me today, but she cared about my education goals. She cared about how I was doing in school, where I wanted to continue my education, how the internship was going, what I saw myself doing after the internship. Did I want to stay at CSI? What were my thoughts about CSI and the like? She's become a really great coworker to have. I've definitely built lasting relationships, and she still checks in on me to the day. About 2015, I finished my associates here at WKCTC. I absolutely loved my time here. I think many, many people that I know constantly hear me say how much I miss WKCTC. I had really great classes. I had really, really good instructors. I owe it to them a lot. About a year into the internship, CSI offered me a full-time position as a software engineer. I was extremely blessed to get that offer, which I excitedly took that. And so since I started that, I was a full-time engineer. That's somebody that usually has a bachelor's degree. And so since I just had my associates, CSI was a great place to gain hands-on work experience and to learn what it truly means to be a software engineer. I was really able to just embrace the whole world so early into my actual education. But I never felt like I was just dropped into CSI. I never felt, like overexposed. They really appreciated me, and they took the time to teach me. I was never expected to learn or to know everything from the very beginning. But as I said, compared to somebody with a bachelor's degree, I really didn't know a whole lot. But I had excellent groundwork here from WKCTC, and with the training that CSI provided me, combined with the encouragement from my boss, my team, and the mentor that I mentioned, I really gained confidence and knowledge. I felt like I was pulling my weight in my team, in the department, and I felt like I was excelling. So since I went full time, I have been working on my bachelor's degree of computer science. I go online. I work full time for CSI through the week. Through what CSI provided me with and my 2 years at WKCTC, I'm further ahead in the classes that I'm taking now. I've had a very easy time in my bachelor's degree because I was so lucky to get the training and education from CSI. And on the topic of education, CSI has some pretty good education assistance. College is really expensive, and if you work for a company that cares enough about your education to help you pay for it, like you can't beat that. So as long as I have good grades, CSI is helping me out. And I'm set to graduate next fall with my Bachelor's of Science. I have been at CSI since June of 2015, and it feels like it was yesterday. Time's definitely flown. I feel like I have been with CSI much, much longer. I'm building websites and applications that people around the company are utilizing. And as I said earlier, there is nothing more rewarding than putting your knowledge to good use. It really makes you feel pretty good. I was able to buy my first home in December of last year. I don't know if I mentioned I'm 22 and bought my first home last year. I am an avid traveler, so I vacation at least twice a year. I went to Chicago, Miami, and Key West all in this year alone while working full-time and while going to school for my bachelor's degree online. There is absolutely no doubt that CSI is responsible for where I am today. It's definitely been a fun and rewarding few years that I have no doubt you all would enjoy your time there just as much as I have. I'm positive that I'll be with CSI for many, many more years to come. I hope you all seriously think about coming to WKCTC and look into an internship and a career with CSI, because I don't think you would regret it. I think you would really enjoy it. And thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciated coming and talking to you all. Thanks. Yeah. If anybody has questions about WKCTC, the internship, CSI, how to manage an internship and school, if that was something on your mind, yeah, definitely let me have it.
Any questions
I was
for
really looking
Caitlin?
forward to questions, you guys.
Yes, you did a great job.
Okay, I hope that's what that means. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Excellent, Caitlin. Thank you.
In the DP world, we call that a successful beta test. She did a phenomenal job. The only thing I disagree with what she said is we didn't give her anything. She earned every bit of it. So congratulations to Caitlin. And we want to have 50 more Caitlins. God is my witness. That's what we want. Let's talk about what it takes to be a Caitlin. You have to be a high school senior at a public or private school. A high school senior with a 3.0 or better cumulative record. This is not easy work. You got to be smart to do some of this. And so you got to have good grades. High school senior that passes CSI standard background and drug test. You don't have to take that to enter the college, but just be aware when you get out and you get ready to come to work for us or any other professional organization, they're going to run a drug screen and they're going to want to know that your background's clean. Your background's not clean because of a mistake you made at a very early age. That's something they'll work with you on. But be aware you're going to have to go through that. And then a high school senior that's or I should say, or a participant like Caitlin was with Dr. John Voss, somebody that brings us somebody and says, this is exactly what you guys are looking for. We're going to be all on board. We're going to trust that educator to tell us that this is what we've been trying to find. And because they're the educators, they know you guys better than we do. And so we're going to give you a shot at something like this. The other thing we have a problem with in our industry is there's not enough diversity. And so we'll give some preference, and I say some. That doesn't mean, diversity will get you an instant entrance, but we'll give some preference because we need more diversity in our industry. And that's not a CSI problem, that's an industry problem. So we'll give some preference to that. And also, as Caitlin says, we're a big member of the community. We like to try to help people out, maybe first-time attendees at college, to make sure that, we're continuing growing the community economically. And so those are the requirements in order to be a part of the program we're talking about. Anybody know what is that number? Any math students here? I had to go. What is that number? Sir. 1 trillion or $1.3 trillion. That is the national amount of college student loans. $1.3 trillion is what college students currently own for their education, or former college students. I got to tell you, folks, that's a problem. The payment, the annual payment on that, just the interest payment, never mind paying down the debt, is $65 billion. And I'm going to probably talk more to McCracken County here for a moment, but it's true for everybody. If you're in McCracken County, you can get a community scholarship to go to this school if you've done a good job. You can come here and you can get out, go to work for CSI like Caitlin has. And then we're going to help you pay. We're not opposed to 4-year degrees. In fact, that's all we hired until about a year ago. Everybody had to have a 4-year degree, right, to know how to do this. And we finally broke the mold and decided they didn't. And we get somebody like Caitlin, and she proves that you don't have to have a 4-year degree. You come to work, we take care of you for a year, and you go on to your education and you do a good job and get good grades. We're going to pay a lot of money towards that continuing education. You can get out and not own part of that $1.3 billion. So I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but the economic reality is the $65 billion in interest paid on this is money you can't spend to buy a house or go on vacation. So I encourage you to look around at everything that you're thinking about doing, but certainly give the CSI program. And by the way, we didn't create this for CSI. Well, we did. That's not exactly true. We created it for CSI because we have a need. But I'm an honest believer that once we get this program up and going and we got a CSI Academy and people see what you can do with this kind of a program, that there'll be lots of other employers in the area that need, I mean, we're having trouble hiring. You can imagine what the trouble that other people are having to try to hire technicians into their companies. And I think you're going to see lots and lots and lots more of this happen. And I also think it's a way, if we create a great channel here of people that are feeding the data processing industry, we'll recruit companies here. I'm asked all the time, why can't we recruit another CSI? Well, I don't know. We got 25 open positions. How would you get another CSI to come here? And so, I just think if you look at this, you look at this program, you look at this school, you avoid getting yourself way, way in debt going to some exclusive school, that you're going to be the person out there at 22 years of age buying a house. And so anyway, that's kind of my pitch. I'm going to shut up now. I felt like I suddenly became a commercial or a preacher, one of the two. But I'm passionate about this. I truly am. I think Western Kentucky is the greatest place in the world to live. I think all the opportunities are here, and I encourage you to consider all of them as you go into your senior and junior years. Thank you very much.